piecing demonstration. And she's got a few samples here, and she's going to talk a little bit about it. So do you want to get started on that, Kim?
I am. It's not, we've done English paper piecing, which is, wrapping your fabric around a paper shape, like a hexagon, a honeycomb, and then basting it either with glue, thread, and then just whip stitching your pieces together. This is foundation paper piecing, and it's where we're using a piece of paper today because, from one of the Emma, foundation papers, which is really nice to use, I'll have to say. So we're going to show that. We're going to demonstrate it. But there's also different foundations you can use besides paper. You can use fabric. I can remember my mom using like just some muslin. Back then it was like 99 cents a yard. And so you could use that, and it would stay in the quilt. It would make it a little bit heavier, but not that much. We have a Sheer Delight.
Sheer Delight, I've used that. Yeah, that was nice.
So that's nice. And it like Debbie used it, and it was basically foundation piecing. It was just like a string quilt where you sewed it, sewed your pieces to your shape, and then, trimmed it down to the size you needed. So it's still a foundation piecing. I don't know why I'm talking with my hands today.
But the Sheer Delight was really nice to use. But we do have foundation papers as well right here.
We do. Carol Doak is really nice. I've used this paper for years. We did, a group of us decided we'd make a Dear Jane quilt. And don't ask if mine's done. I have about 20 blocks, but back when Dear Jane started, and Electric Quilt had the software where you could print the patterns out. And let's just say that the foundation paper, Carol Doak, is 8.5 by 11. It fits into your printer.
Yeah.
So if you have a program, or if you can draw it out, you can make your own foundation paper piecing.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
We have several books. Like that one's really cute. It's a small little book from CNT. It tells you your, the very basics of paper piecing, but there's lots of patterns in it, and it's so cute. Also, patterns that we have in stock that are paper piecing.
I love this book nerd.
I love the book nerd. It's cute.
I want to make a scrappy book nerd.
So yes. So Debbie's going to make the book nerd, and I've got the fabric for the snooze the bed. So that's cute. We have an I Spy book that is so cute. Flip it over and they can see some of they can see the front. All the different little patterns. Wouldn't that be cute for a kid?
And all these patterns are foundation
yes.
paper pieced.
So yes, ready to go. And then from It's So Emma, we have the pineapple block, which is a 12-inch block. We also have the economy block, which is a 12-inch block. And we have the pineapple block that's a 6-inch block. And I'm using today the economy block, which is a 6-inch block. But I hate to say this, we don't have this in stock anymore. But if you're interested, you let us know, and we can get it for you.
Yeah.
This is really an easy one to start with.
I got to tell you, we've been selling a lot of
yes.
foundation paper piecing stuff.
And the main reason is, if you've been piecing and you just can't get it, your points aren't meeting, you're having problems, foundation piecing might be something you want to try. Because just so that you can see, this is what my little block looked like. Oh, sorry, it's upside down. So I'm using the William Morris, which is kind of 1800, 1800s. So you can see, and when we're going to switch over to the thing, so you can see this. We'll do the first one first. So oops, are we there?
Yeah, we're there.
So this is, this is my economy block, and you can see that it's really nice. It's kind of pre-colored for me, so I know that these are different color fabrics, whether a dark, light, medium, whichever you want. But also it tells me where I'm starting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you learn how to count while you're doing this. If you know nothing else, you'll be sewing on the lines, okay? and I'm going to show you all the quick ways. Now, the great thing about most of today's patterns is that if you read in your directions, they'll tell you about how big to cut pieces to go on here.
Nice.
They're oversized, so you'll be fine, you know, sewing them. Back in the old and golden days, you had to figure that out yourself. So now it's, like I said, it's in here. The great thing about the Sew Emma products, there's the directions, but they also give you a layout and how many you would need to make a bigger quilt.
Oh, nice.
So yes.
Nice.
So and this quilt, I kind of have seen this. The reason why I wanted it was I've seen an antique quilt that was kind of made with the economy blocks with dark colors, and it has a light sashing. So stay tuned. I am going to finish this, I promise.
We've also got the Moda Bake Shops too, right?
Yes, we do. Well, and that's like the triangles on a roll.
No, we got the we have those on a roll, and
Yeah.
then we've got the cake shop stuff.
Yeah.
Bake shop cake.
And those have square triangles too, but it's still paper piecing. So yes. So here's the items that you're going to want. You're going to want an add a quarter ruler, which we have here in the shop. I like to keep a small little cutting mat by me,
Yeah.
and of course cutting ruler, a postcard, and I'll show you why. A little glue stick is optional. You know,
Kim loves the glue sticks
you can
now.
get fabric, or you can get just a school glue that's washable. I also have like a little wooden iron that I like, so that helps. So we're going to get started. You could also have your little tiny iron and a small ironing board nearby, or you could have your big iron and ironing board, you know.
We've got that nice
nearby.
little iron. Do you want it?
No, I've got my
Your
little
roller,
wooden
okay.
one. So yes, and we've got our sewing machine set up. So let's get started.
Let's get this party
Let's
started.
get it started. So I have my pieces pre-cut, so I'm ready to go. And again, I just followed the directions in the book. And the other thing that you can use is a light box, which I was going to set up. But the other thing that you could do is use the window and the light that's above you.
Yeah.
That works.
Do you want me to pull the light box out?
No, but you could also use, if you don't have a light box, you could use your cell phone. Turn on the flashlight, because you only need it for a second.
Yeah, yeah.
And you just are lining up,
Yeah.
you know, for square number 1.
Okay.
So let me just say this. You're going to sew on the back, but your fabric's going to go on the front, and it's right side up. That makes sense.
Oops.
And you don't drop everything. So right side up. And then you can see, well, I don't know if you can see.
Let me get my phone. Oh,
Do you have
this
your
is my
phone?
It's
Here's
right
your
here,
phone.
look.
And mine's who knows where. I know. Where's my phone? I do this all the time. So, we do have, let's see if it
Can I
was
put the
show
light
there.
box in?
Yes, plug the light box in so that we can see. Sorry, ladies, gentlemen.
Make our life a bit easier.
Make it easier. I meant to do that.
We can see it, you know, ourselves, but you can't see it because of the camera angles.
So, yes. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to bang the thing.
Where do you want this? Just down there?
Just right in here would be good, I guess. Just for a second.
Yeah. I can move the camera. There you go.
There you go.
All right, this is
Okay.
our light box, people.
So you can see my piece is overly cut, but the great thing is if you have a design that you like in the middle, you can play with it. You have 2 options. You can do a dab of glue on your paper, and I mean a dab. We're not gluing this, you know, for it never to be moved again. And then just kind of press it down. You can also use a pen, and I highly recommend, you know, a flat pen,
Yes.
so that you don't
Distort
it. So yes, and that's the end of the light box. I hate to say,
Okay,
but
that's all right. But people can see
But you can see, and
how useful a
Yes.
light box is, or at least some light source.
geez, and I have more than 1/4 of an inch, and so now I'm going to play with it. I'm going to go to number 2.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So now we're going to go back to my little cutting mat and get ready for number 2
Okay.
and my first triangle piece. Oops. And I'm going to put a pin in because my glue didn't dry fast enough. So the good thing about this is if your edges get biased, which is stretchy, then, you know, the paper kind of helps it stay stable. And you want to make sure your fabric stays flat on the other side, because if you, you know, have to unsew, it's not fun because we've changed our stitch length to 1.5. So you want it small. So here's where your postcard comes in handy. You're going to lay it on, because I need to sew this line first. So I'm going to lay it right on the line and fold my piece over. Use my 1/4 inch, add a 1/4 ruler. And then I'm going to trim this to a perfect 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now, here's the great thing. When it's time to add my first piece, lay it flat back out, kind of, that's a 1/4 of an inch. So I just have to leave this, you know, lay it down, and then you just gonna make it even. Again, it's still overcut, but you know, you can see that you're gonna be fine. But I'm gonna show you a little trick that my friend little Phoebe showed us at the Guild. If you're pre-cutting all this yourself and didn't have directions, what you could do is fold this over, and if your blue fabric, which is my triangle, goes out beyond the space, then you know you've got more than enough fabric to cover it. And the reason why this is important to know that you're covering it is you don't want to sew it down and then figure out it's slid over too much and you don't have enough for your seam allowance. So when you sew it, now we're going to go to the sewing machine. Oops. Okay, we're going to try not to get you sick today. So when you go to the sewing machine, you're going to make sure everything stays together. And if it doesn't, then you're going to play with it until it, you know, just matches back up. Lay it down nicely. Put it on the machine. And you're going to start right in the corner on the line. You want to do either a locking stitch or a back up, you know, reverse stitch back up for a few stitches. I have a locking stitch, so I'm going to use it, and it's just going to be right there at that point. I did change my stitch length, like I said, to 1.5, and it's going to do locking, and then I'm just sewing on the line. Now you want to find a foot that you like. So like this one's nice and has this nice little arrow, so I know that I'm stitching on the line. And if nothing else, this will help you sew straight. But I will tell you, first time you do it, and again I'm at the end, so I'm going to lock stitch again and let it do its thing. So when I first did this, of course I wasn't a pro at it. You know, the first one is like your first pancake. You know, it's either going to be hit or miss. Once I, you know, finish it, you know, it's a new language, so just learn, you know, just take your time. Remember, this is bias, so you want to be careful, and I always kind of finger pressed a little bit. And I just recently learned, so I'm going to tell y'all, when you are pressing something that's the biased here, you want to press with the grain. Did you know that?
No, but it makes sense.
So that you don't stretch it out. And so you can use an iron, or you can use your little wooden iron. And so, so I just did that.
Now this is a part, people, that you really have to focus on, because this is where you can really mess your lines up if you're sewing on the bias like that.
Yes. Yes. But the paper helps too.
It does.
So, you know, that's it. So should I do one more side?
Sure.
So we can see it, and then we'll go down to like, oh, look, it's finished. Do we have any questions?
No, Pat said good morning, and that's a great tip, Kim McPeak.
Thank you very
Pat,
much.
she's full of good tips. This
Well, you
woman.
know, I watch lots of YouTubes. Trust me.
You can learn anything on YouTube nowadays.
You can. Oops. So again, I folded that over, put that on my line, fold it over. Now the other thing that you want to do, you want to try and keep your pieces flat. Oops. And you want to kind of get along the ruler. The reason why I'm saying that is, you know, you want to kind of keep it where it's on here flat.
Yes.
Because you can get it like this.
Yes.
Trust me.
Yeah.
I've done everything that you can imagine.
Yeah.
With with, you know, paper piecing. And I had
What are you
just my
looking for?
pieces of fabric. So, you know, don't, again, be kind to yourself. Just have fun. And if nothing else, as Pat would probably say, start making quilts to get ready for the next quilt show. How's that?
There you go.
And so again, I'm going to just flip this over. You know, you could, if you wanted to, if you're not sure about it, you could stick a little pin, you know, to hold everything together. And I would just do it kind of like in here. You know, so it's out of the way.
Yes.
But it's going to stay still. And again, I'm going to go back to the machine, start, and this is a recent thing for me. When I first learned how to paper piece, we started a little bit before, about 1/4 of an inch, and then we'd sew past the dot. But but I've learned since then you're supposed to do dot to dot. And then when you go from the outside, of course, you have the lines going all the way out. So you would do it all the way out.
Yeah.
The reason why you're doing the 1.5 seam allowance, or stitch length, I should say, not seam allowance, is so that you can tear the paper away in the end.
It helps cut through the paper.
Yes. You do want to take the paper out after you finish your blocks. And then we have a discussion on that too, whether I like taking my paper out before, you know, after I trimmed them to the correct size. But a lot of people like to leave it in until the quilt top is made and then take it all out. So I'm going to say that's up to you. There's good reasons for both ways. So that's the actual, and you just keep doing each section. That's all there is to it.
It's like painting by numbers.
So yes. So then in the end, see, I've got one done. Okay.
You fussy cut that little cute flower.
I did. So I've Swiss cheese some of my fabric.
Yeah.
And then some of it's just the way it goes is the way it's going to go. So,
So you start off with that really simple economy block, but look how beautiful this is.
So yes.
And your points are on point.
On point.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it is.
So when it's time to trim, you're just going to flip it over, and it tells you do not trim on this line. You know, trim on this line, which is the outside, which you can see it would be 1/4 of an inch seam allowance.
Yeah.
And you're just going to use your regular ruler. And I did bring a 6.5 inch ruler, but it's in my other bag. See, that's what happens when you're late. So I'm going to use and I would usually go to my normal cutting mat so I could cut everything. But on this one, I'm just going to line up my 1/4 of an inch along, well, I could probably do the whole thing, couldn't I? Along here. And you're just going to match it up to make sure that I'm not going to be cutting off any points. Now, you are cutting through paper, which might dull your
blade.
But it's, you know, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Worth it.
It'll be worth it.
It's worth a new blade.
So, yes. So, and again, you're just going to go around all 4 sides. And I will say this is easier to do when standing up. So, and it would be a little bit closer because you can see what you're doing when you're standing on top of everything.
It's true. You do get much better vision.
You're probably like, oh, it needs to be moved over just a hair. And I'll retrim if I need to. Because every ruler's different. Oh, I did the wrong thing. Sorry, see? We didn't say we were pros at this. But it's a lot of fun. And you can do a lot of, I don't know if you've noticed that the quilt shows, you know, like the animals that are all pieced.
Yeah.
Most of that's paper pieced.
Yeah.
So there's my block all nicely trimmed.
Really pretty.
So again, like I said, most people would wait and take the paper out, but I really, it's easier for me to take the paper out now. And again, it's just, you're going to follow the numbers again, fold it, you're going to go highest to low, you know, highest to lowest, and it just tears out.
And if you didn't have such a short stitch, that wouldn't rip away as easily.
Right, and you would be distorting your stitches. So yes, ask me how I know that. Or it would, you know, and I do like doing the locking stitch at the beginning or a reverse stitch because that helps to hold it in. And then, oops, sorry, my hand's in the way probably. And it will just pick up just like that. You just have to have some nails to do it. We should go have our nails done before we do this.
I know. Linda said, "Oh, it's so pretty, Kim."
Thank you very much.
And Pat said the 1.5 also helps keep your stitches from pulling out when you remove the papers. There you go, Pat. Yeah, that's a good plan.
So there's my block.
There's our block. Look how pretty, people.
And that's the next one. So these can go side by side, or they can go, this one hasn't been trimmed yet. Or, like I said, I'm planning on doing a sash. Yes. And we no longer have this fabric in stock. Sarah and I, because I started this with Sarah, whatever 2 days ago was. And she was like, you know, I sold the last piece of that, and I just kept wanting the person to leave me some, and they wouldn't. They needed it all. So we're both like, luckily I'd already had a fat quarter.
We sold a lot of bird fabric lately.
So yes.
All right, so awesome.
So any questions?
Any questions? Let's come over here. We're going to switch back to here right now. Oops, sorry, people. Sorry. There we go.
Oh, it looks so good.
It looks so good, right?
So yes.
Tweezers are great for removing paper. That's a good suggestion,
It
Susan.
is. So yes.
Like that.
So yes. Now there's also, which I've just been introduced to recently, is there's 8.5 by 11 freezer paper sheets that you can run through your printer.
Oh, yeah.
So you could use, which that's nice to use for paper piecing. Hi there. Which you can use for paper piecing, but you use, then that way your stuff can stick to the shiny side, the waxy side.
Oh, I like that idea.
So,
yes.
So there's all kinds. There's also different ways of paper piecing, foundation paper piecing, I should say that, where instead of sewing on the line, you flip it and you sew right beside the paper, so you don't mess up your papers. But usually you want to use the freezer paper.
You want to use the
So,
paper, yeah.
So
make your
there's-
life easy, people.
Make your life sew through the paper.
Sew through the
yes.
paper.
So yes.
Yeah. All right, so it's 9:57. Have you got anything else to add to this little tutorial today?
No, that's it. That was faster than I thought. I thought we'd be here all day.
So we're going to sign off. We are going to open the shop in 3 minutes. So if you've got any questions, please type them in. We will answer them. Or give us a call.
See, now she's
We'll
talking
answer
with
them.
her hands.
Oh, dear me.
We're really bad today.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a good day. I'm hoping the weather's going to be nice. I didn't watch the news last night.
Boy, there's a lot of limbs down when I got back into town yesterday.
Yep. We were under tornado warnings
Mm,
while you were gone.
yeah.
So yes.
A lot of debris around. Anyway, folks, I hope you have a lovely day. And Karen,
Thank you.
Cam said, another great demo. Yes, it was, Karen.
So yes.
It was. Have a good day, Pat Schneider. I hope you're doing well. And everybody, take care. And we look forward to seeing you all soon.
Yes.